Hello, welcome into another Tuesday night live stream, only at a brand new time. Just going live a little bit early tonight because I have things to do tomorrow morning, so I wanted to get on here and go live and then, get to bed at a decent time. I do want to apologize again to Keith. I did not realize tonight was a Zoom meeting. That is happening right now. If you're interested in that, go ahead to his channel. I will not feel bad. I kind of jumped on his thing. I also know that Aaron's wife, girlfriend, I'm not quite sure, is live right now. So Tuesdays are a very busy night, as Eric said. So let's see who's here. Grish is first, as usual. Micah is here. Eric, yes, pointing out that she is live. And the music is still live. So thank you, honey, for telling me. That should have been turned off automatically. Why did that not happen? Interesting. Okay. So sorry about the music. Thank you again, honey. And so yeah, so what was I say? Oh yeah, Tuesdays are a busy night. Lots of live streaming going on. So those of you who are here, I appreciate it. Tony is here. Toro is here. Welcome in. Yes, music. My wife is here, and she's the one who told me about the music. Yes, good. I'm glad you guys can understand it. So, what do you think about this time slot? I'm just curious because I actually wouldn't mind going live a little bit earlier. 8 o'clock sometimes just seems a little too early for me to get home and get things, set up and whatnot. 9 o'clock seems a little bit later, almost too late. So I think 8:30 makes sense. Let me know what you guys think. I would love the feedback to know what you guys think. So the title today, as you know, is Life, Sports, and TV. We'll do it live, as they say. So just kind of want to give a little bit of a life update, where things stand, what we've been doing. Kind of like one reason why I was away for so long. Haley says, I like it because I get extra reading time. Well, that's important. That's definitely important. But anyway, so I want to give a little bit of updates on things. I'm going to talk about a little bit of sports stuff because I actually did sign up to do 3 sporting events this fall. So that'll be fun. And then TV, we'll see kind of where we get. So first things first. Let me switch pages on my Stream Deck, and then let's go to the first thing, since the last thing we talked about, we talked about before about my little wiring home lab thing and my EcoFlow back there and whatnot. And one of the house projects we've always wanted to do was get a barn. And so we now have a barn. We finally got a barn. It was actually built on site, which is one of our requirements because one thing we learned in this whole process is basically if you get a barn and it's pre-built, they have to take your fence down. And we didn't want to take the fence down to get a barn delivered. And without giving away too much stuff, it would have almost been impossible even taking the barn down or even taking the fence down to get the barn where it was. So we had this barn custom built on our lot. And so we now have a barn or a shed, whatever you want to call it. And currently there is no power on this barn, but as you can imagine, I have thought about it. I would like to put some sort of lights on the barn, do something like that. So maybe we will get some sort of solar for the back. That is not quite due south, but it is pointing south. The back is, and the back is completely, clean of anything like that. So we could put solar on the back. The back wall is also clean, like there's nothing on it, so we could, in theory, mount solar behind there too. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do yet. It's one of those things where we have options. There is a little loft inside. Above that window, there is a piece of plywood that goes across, so we could put like a battery unit up there and not be on the ground. We're also going to add some shelves, so we could actually put the battery unit on there. The EcoFlow can take solar. What's kind of my thought right now is to get a little solar panel, maybe put another EcoFlow in there, give it power. Who knows? Could be my not quite off-site backup location. If the house got destroyed for some reason, chances are the barn would get destroyed, but you never know. So, go from there. So let me just see your comments because I see you guys talking about it. This time works for Micah. 8:30 works. Everyone should get some me time. Yes. Oh my gosh. A shed, a PDP to barn. So that was a question. I mean, the Wi-Fi technically does reach out there. I could put a Wi-Fi antenna on the barn and pick up, internet. Believe me, I have definitely thought about that. Again, power is probably the first thing you got to do, and then go from there. The barn wants power. Yeah, it kind of does. We had talked about putting the barn closer to the house, but this location worked out better. And so it's not, I'm not going to say it's hard to get power out to this location, but we would have to do something maybe not so permanent because there are utility wires or there are utilities underneath the ground over there. The fiber line, actually for the fiber line for the internet goes basically across where that comment is, right below that, the lower third there basically is across that whole, picture is where the fiber line is. So we'd have to be really careful if we wanted to actually bury any power lines, but hence why I thought about solar. So Christmas lights. Yes. Haley wants to put Christmas lights on it. I have a feeling it'll get Christmas lights. One way or another, it'll get Christmas lights. Yeah, I need a Radio Shack. Yeah, that'd be awfully funny to actually get one, or not funny. It'd be really cool, I should say, to get one. That will not be this, but who knows in the future. And yes, the air conditioning is definitely a requirement. Joe is in the house. Welcome in, Joe. Good to see you as always.
Josephus! Josephus is in the house.
I think your square foot. It's just so the shed is 10 by 14. Funny story, if you will. The town has a square foot requirement or limits, basically. If it's over 144 square feet, you have to be 10 feet from the property line. But if it's under 144 square feet, you can be 5 feet from the property line. And because we didn't want this barn taking up most of our yard, we actually went with a smaller barn so we could stick it in this corner better. So this is a 10 by 14 barn. We added the transom windows up top and give it more light, give it more space to kind of like put tall things in there. And so really cool barn. And I watched them build it in like 3 hours. It was crazy fast. These three Amish guys just went to town and got it built in like 3 hours. It was very impressive. Jeremy is here. Yes, we had to get a permit for the shed. It was $35, and all I had to do was basically make a drawing. Uh, Basically, all I had to do was make a drawing. I took a Google screenshot of the house, and basically, with I think it was might have been even paint. I forget honestly. It was basically like, here's the shed, and then it had 5 feet from fence, 5 feet from this fence. I submitted that, and the guy said, "Great, you're approved." So, very easy process. Yeah, I mean that's trenching is a possibility, but like I said, there's things that go across. Hold on. It's, that sneeze came out of nowhere, and I'm sorry. I don't think I made it in time. So like I said, yes, we could trench and run fiber and power out there, but unfortunately, the fiber line is in the way. Other utilities are in the way. I did think about simply like making it so like a lead cord could go across the backyard. It wouldn't be permanent, but obviously might work. I don't know. I thought I haven't really got that whole thing out. I'm leaning towards a solar panel and an EcoFlow. We'll see. It wants a mini split condenser. So, yeah, a mini split would probably keep this thing like a freezer. Like I said, it's only 140 square feet, so um, not doesn't need much, or wouldn't need much, I should say. Uh, yeah, I did kind of think about that a little bit because so some of you, I know Joe, you remember, but I had Flight Radar 24 going as a node. The antenna was like right over here, but unfortunately, on the house, unless you go all the way up to the roof, you're missing like 180 degrees of the sky. Basically, everything's south, and there are one. There's essentially 2 or 3 airports that way, like small airports that I would be missing because I can't see the sky. So the thought has occurred to me to put an EcoFlow in this and then put my little Flight Radar 24, out there with an antenna that can see the entire sky. And then obviously just use a Grandstream unit to beam back Wi-Fi to the house. I'm thinking with literally an access point via PoE, a Raspberry Pi, it wouldn't consume that much that I think a solar panel and EcoFlow would probably make it work around the clock. So that wouldn't take up much space. So that's probably one thing I will actually do is like I said, get an EcoFlow, a solar panel, Wi-Fi, security camera maybe, and a Flight Radar unit. So we'll see. Yes, that recording is everywhere. If I was going to be out there working, yes, it would have a mini split or a window unit. I have to have air conditioning. Yep. Toodles. I should get a picture of Haley's bookshelf. It's over here to the right. It's 5 cubby holes by 5 cubby holes, and it's all but 2 are full of books. So that's 23 cubby holes, and they're all full of books. Yep, I was reaching for the mic button, and the audio button is right next to it. So that is, or the music button. So that's why you heard music, because, yeah. I am not in an HOA. I would definitely not like to be in an HOA. There was a brief period in time where, so without giving away too much, the company that built this house no longer exists, but the deed had it where the minute the last property in the subdivision was sold, an HOA was to be formed, so on and so forth. A couple years ago, I guess more than a couple years ago, pre-COVID, the last property was in fact sold. They went around like, oh, we're going to form this HOA. As far as I'm concerned, everybody in the subdivision said hell no. And so there was no HOA formed. So we don't have an HOA. There were some deed restrictions about like pools and stuff like that that have not been followed recently because people have pools, like in-ground pools. And that was one of the rules that was basically saying no in-ground pools. Well, that didn't happen. So, but yes, there's no HOA. And I don't think I could ever live within one because I would have so many issues with them. My personal opinion is they're not very good because I've just heard horror stories about them. So, yeah. And Tony says HOAs suck. Yes, I've heard enough stories about them to know that they, generally speaking, don't do very good. Or, you know, they do more harm than good, from what I understand. Hold on. You can create point to point with two or GrandStream apps. Yeah. Like I said, it's close enough that I think it could just be a client, like basically act as a client bridge. I don't think it needs to be a true point to point link, but either way. Any questions about the barn before we move on? HOA is German for Karen Hangout. I don't know. The horror stories I've heard about HOAs all involve guys. I don't know why. It's just I'm sure that there are issues on both sides, but nobody wants an HOA Karen with a clipboard. Yeah, I almost got into it with the permit guy because he was explaining the 5-foot rule. And I'm like, well, there are people in this subdivision who have barns that are not 5 feet from the property lines. So explain that one to me. And he didn't really want to talk about that. And I was like, if we're going to play by the rules, that means all of us, including the cop who was on the street. But, you know. They do hate antennas, and I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Do not take this for anything more than me just saying some stuff on YouTube. But HOAs, from what I've understand, cannot block you from putting up a TV antenna. Even if they say no TV antennas, the FCC has said that is not okay. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But again, I am not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I don't pretend to give legal advice. Do not listen to me. Well, aren't you retired folk? Sorry. Yeah. Like I said, I don't play a lawyer, but I do know some things about antennas, and I do believe that is a rule. I believe they can limit your height and whatever it is, but they cannot limit the ability to put an antenna outside. So, yeah, they cannot stop you from putting up an antenna. Yep. Yeah, every antenna is a TV antenna. I mean, for all they know. I'm just saying. Anyway, we're going to get off of that topic for a little bit. So the next topic I wanted to talk about, so this goes back to what, June? Something like that? July? I forget what it was. But basically, we got the barn in on a Wednesday, and then on Saturday we left for vacation, and we actually went on a. Tony says I'm partially, but not power hungry. No, but I get the reference. So we actually went on our first cruise ever. So oh, by the way, I got a cool shirt. It's a Linux shirt, and it says "Just sudo it." I forgot to point out the fact that I'm wearing a Linux shirt that says "Just sudo it." Grish says listening, but hands are tied. So how'd you type that out? No, I'm just kidding. Please don't answer that if you if you can't or don't want to. So like I said, we went on a cruise, and first cruise ever. It was a 4-day cruise. We went with some friends who are avid cruisers, and I actually took some pictures. I took a lot of pictures. I'm only going to share like 3 or 4, maybe 5. But either way, so let's take a look at the pictures. And oops, there we go. So here is the ship we went on. It was the Utopia. That's it on the left, and that is on the right a regular size cruise ship. Just to show you how humongously different these brand new ships are. Absolutely insane the size of these new ships. So we went on the cruise. It was a 4-day cruise. We left out of Port Canaveral. We went on the Utopia, which is like the 4th largest ship I think Royal Caribbean has now. At one point it was the largest. Now I think it's the 3rd or 4th largest. And basically, this was our view. We had a cabin room on the side, so we could stare out the water. It was so glorious. We were supposed to go to the Bahamas, but or Nassau, but the hurricane basically changed that plans. But we did go to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and this is what that looks like. Glorious sand, water. It had a pool. The pool was really cool, and it had a DJ in the pool. Like the pool was surrounding the DJ, so the DJ had to literally go through a pool to get to here, which I thought was kind of interesting. Very cool that, you know, and then DJ had like fog machines and could like shoot fog out. It was kind of funky. But then on the day we got back from the cruise, we went to NASA and toured around NASA. And the coolest moment for me was when we got to see the actual control room for the Apollo missions, and they explained that that is actually the original like consoles. They kept them. They obviously modified them to work, like with lights and stuff, but those are the actual consoles in the blue area down there. I know the picture is kind of hard to see, but and then to the right, which I did not show, there was actually like an old camera, like the old CBS location. And then I thought this picture was kind of cool because there's the old logos for ABC, CBS, and NBC. And then, not to give it away too much, but basically they do a live demo, kind of like a countdown simulation, and the lights change and there's noises and whatnot, and it was a really cool experience. And of course, you can see all kinds of stuff. I believe this is Apollo 14, if I'm not mistaken. The sign is there, but I'm not sure if the sign was referencing this one or the one next to it. So I want to say this is Apollo 14, but I could be wrong. But there was all kinds of real real stuff from NASA at this thing. And then the other thing we got to see there was we got to go out and drive around the launch pads. We didn't get to see the launch pads themselves, but we got to go down the same roads that you would take to get there. And one of the things we got to see was actually a Starlink moving some stuff around. There isn't any audio on this clip that I'm going to share, but basically, here was Starlink moving around. Basically, I believe this was the payload end of the rocket. Like whatever's in there is the payload. So I don't know what payload it is, but I'm pretty sure that's the actual like tip of the rocket where the payload, would go inside of that thing, or whatever. So we got to see this, which was pretty cool. This created a massive traffic jam. All the buses got backed up. We couldn't go anywhere for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes while this thing passed. You can see it does not go very fast. It actually moves faster than I expected it to move. But I thought it was really curious to see, like, there's a generator up front, and the generator was running, and it was powering the air conditioning units at the back there that are keeping whatever's in there cool. Yeah, so we could play it again. So like I said, this was just kind of cool to be sitting at one of these launch pads, and here's Starlink moving their stuff around, and in the back there you can see the old assembly building where they actually assembled the space rockets. So let's go back to, well, we can just finish the video out. Making a mess at the dismembering a water softener. That must be fun. Yeah, the water was very blue. NASA was very cool. We hadn't actually planned on going to NASA, but we kind of were just like right there, and we're like, well, let's just go check it out. And then we went to the gate, and there was like $15 to park and $70 to go in, and we're like, well, I guess we're going in. Yeah, that is quite large. I don't know what was actually in it. The guys who work there don't, at least they don't tell you kind of like a lot. They're like, well, it's it's SpaceX or it's this or it's whatever it is, but they don't really like, either they don't know or they don't say like what actually it is. So I'm not quite sure if it was Starlink, you know, doing satellite launches or more nodes, which I assume it is, but I don't know that for a fact. Yeah, so I do believe when they do those launches, yeah, there's a whole string of them. If there were 60 if there were 60 of them in there, then I mean those satellites are smaller than I realized, because I mean, I guess you could put 60 in there, but I mean that would mean that the satellite, isn't much bigger than an air conditioning unit. I mean, maybe not even that size. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, I mean, we had we had made the plan to go in early, and so we actually flew in on Saturday. Because if you don't know about cruising, if you're not an avid cruiser, always fly in the day before. So never fly in the day of your cruise. Do not do it. Just do not do it. I 100% say do not. So we flew in Saturday, and then we actually rented a car to drive to visit some friends. So we went on Sunday, we drove around and visited friends, and then we got on the cruise Monday. And then we were basically kind of told, don't fly home the same day you get off the ship. And so we had most of a day, I should say, in Orlando. We saw that NASA was nearby. We're like, let's go check it out. And then next thing you know, we're touring NASA. So, which is quite fun. So if you ever get down there, I'd recommend it. It's really cool. The bus trip, which takes you around to various locations, is included. With the price of admission. The price of admission is kind of high, but it includes the bus trip. So use the bus trip and go see things The actual building that you first go into isn't that exciting. Like there's a couple things in there, but nothing like taking a bus trip and driving around the facility and seeing all the different launch pads and seeing, but you don't actually see, like I said, you don't get to go to an actual launch pad, but you can see them from afar and you are way closer than you would be otherwise. That'd be a rocket, Joe. Yes, that'd be a rocket. From Michigan, how far was that? What, 18 hours? I think that'd have to be a drive. All right, so it was about $150 a person with a bus trip from Icom Park. I don't know what Icom Park is. 23 hours. Yeah, that's a drive. Even doing that in 2 days, that'd be a drive. That'd be a haul. Wow. We did see some people on the cruise from Michigan. Of course, these cruise ships hold like 5,000 people now. So I mean, in theory, every state's represented by at least somebody. And then, of course, internationally, there's all kinds of people there from international. So, hold on a second. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense. I can't sleep in a car, so I would not do well with that. But glad you could. So yeah, so like said, the cruise was awfully fun. Totally would do it again. We'd like to do it again. We're probably thinking about a 7-day cruise next time instead of a 4-day cruise, just because you don't really get to see a lot if you only do 4 days. I mean, you get to see a lot, but like you don't get a lot of time to just take it in and really settle in on a 4-day cruise, because I did not realize this, I guess, as much as you do until you're there. But basically, if you board the ship, let's just say at 10 a.m., like we did, the ship doesn't leave until like after 4, like almost 5 o'clock. So your first day, if you will, is actually in port. So you are on the cruise ship, but you don't actually get to leave port until like 5 p.m. So it's more like a half day on the ocean. It's not like a full day, and then you're out to sea or you're doing your things. And if you stop somewhere like NASA, you're again in port. NASA, not Nassau. Sorry, not NASA. So if you're in a port, you're not out cruising around. If you're in like Coco Cay, you're obviously at port or at rest for a little bit. So we kind of figured that just like 7 days would get a lot more cruising, if you will. And we developed a routine by the last night that we really wanted to adopt. But again, it was the last night. And so we really didn't get a chance to like go to the pools and sit by the hot tub at night and whatnot. Because the pools during the day are packed. Like you cannot move around. But then once dinner time hits, which is like 5 o'clock, everybody leaves the pool. And so the pool becomes a perfect place to go to at night. It's also not scorching hot. So, but this is not a travel channel. I just wanted to just kind of give you my feedback in case you're considering doing a cruise, which I think you all should. Yeah, there are a lot of hand washing stations and a lot of sanitizers around. Obviously, that is a thing people worry about too. But yeah, they like to definitely have hand washing stations. There are sanitization stations, so on and so forth. So when we were leaving the last day to go get the car rental, the shuttle driver made a comment about being a busy day. And he basically goes, there's Royal, there's the party ship, which is Carnival, and then there's the retirement home on water, which is Disney. So he called Carnival the party ship. I liked Royal Caribbean. I think it was nice. If they wanted to sponsor the channel, I would take their sponsorship in a heartbeat, but that's not going to happen. But I watched a lot of cruise videos on YouTube, and now, of course, YouTube recommends cruise videos to me. So I see that a lot. Yeah, like I said, the 4 days was nice. We would definitely want to do a 7-day if we were going to go again. 7-day cruise is our limit. We have friends that cruise between 14 and 20. Yeah, man, I don't think I could do that. I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't think I could do 2 or 3 weeks at sea. I mean, I could obviously do it. I don't think I'd prefer that. I think I'd prefer like 3 separate cruises if that was the case, not to do it all at once. But yes, please hit the like button. I would appreciate that. I actually don't have the stats page called up yet. Let me go back in. I'm curious. Looks like there are 9 of you here and 7 likes, so I appreciate that. And I have not given you guys any kind of channel update in a while, so let me do that real quick before I get too far. Although we're already like over 40 minutes in. View your channel, manage videos. So currently we sit at 2,029 subscribers. And we are at 1,769 watch hours, which is shocking considering that I have not posted a video in a while. Or sorry, a long form video in a while, and I've not done a live stream that I kept up in quite some time. So the fact that it's still holding on to that many watch hours is very impressive for me, at least. I'm quite happy with that. I did want to follow up also with the stream last week where we set up the GrandStream PBX. I will say that it does work. The issue was not with the GrandStream PBX itself. It was with VoIP.ms. And basically, I couldn't call out because my caller ID was not being set properly. I don't recall this from previous because when I tried FreePBX and 3CX, they both set caller ID properly. So the GrandStream did not do that out of the box using the instructions that I followed. But I eventually found an article and followed the steps. And while it still didn't work the way I thought it was going to work, I eventually got it right because they emailed me and said that I was passing the wrong caller ID, which I was. So therefore, because I was just trying to fake it out and just put anything in to see what it would do. And they caught that. So therefore, by setting it in VoIP.ms as the caller ID that I was assigned, instantly it worked. And so we could have received and made phone calls last week in about 10 minutes had I had that setting correctly. I still need to go back in to the GrandStream and figure out what setting does need checked in order to send caller ID. Because even though I got it working, I never got the GrandStream to send the caller ID, which obviously if you have more than one line, you would kind of want to have happen. So just keep that in mind. that if using VoIP.ms to go in and set your caller ID on their end in order to get it working, and then hopefully at some point in the future, we'll go back, revisit the GrandStream PBX and figure out what settings need to be made for it to send caller ID, because that's probably going to be something you would want, assuming that you have more than one phone number, which, in my situation, you may or may not. Antarctica. I have never thought about going there. I had heard a lot about Alaskan cruises, and I've heard that they're awesome. But Antarctica cruises, I've never thought about going there. I like the cold. That might be a little too cold for me. You say you also got the Switch working. Oh, you were, that's right, because I heard you on Jeremy's stream. You were getting one. So that's cool. Glad that works. I saw Willie release a video about a new Switch today, and I was only partially listening. I'm sorry, Willie. And I think that was... Tony, do you remember? Does that Switch support, or does the GCC support that Switch? Can it be controlled by the GCC? I'm not going to go buy it. I was just curious, and I never really heard that part of Willie's video. So, but anyway, I did mention GrandStream to Keith today. I actually joined his Zoom call for like 5 minutes. And he told me that he was talking to Tony about GrandStream, so I'm curious to see if Tony can get another person to convert. And if that's the case, then Tony should get money from GrandStream. I have a video on setting caller ID on GrandStream. Well, I'd be curious to know where in the GCC you put that, because I think I watched your video and I followed a guide, and it didn't seem to work the same way in the GCC, because the article that I read said to put this in a certain field, and that does not work in that field. The GCC will not let you paste it as it was formatted on the article. So, if you can send me the link to that video, or that section of the video specifically, I would love to see it. So yes, but anyway, my point being is the PBX does in fact work, calling out and in. And so I did follow up with Joe, because of course he likes to point out that I couldn't make a phone call, but I can make phone calls now. Oh, the current firmware cannot be adopted. Okay. I thought it was that Switch seemed familiar. And I should probably reference the thing that I'm referring to. I mean, I'm kind of torn on this whole GCC thing, because like the GCC is cool, and I love the fact that it can control switches, but it seems like it's lacking a whole bunch of features that would make it a true centralized management platform for all their stuff, like Unify does. I'm sure it'll get there someday, but it's just not there yet. But it's getting there. So, but not knocking it. I'm just saying, I kind of wish it was more like the ubiquitous, and yes, I use that word purposely. I wish it was more like the ubiquitous controller where it controlled everything. But it'll get there eventually. Excuse me. All right, so follow up on that. I did also want to mention TrueNAS and my Ugreen, and so I just wanted to show this real quick. Basically, this is my current status on my Ugreen NAS. We are at 62% full. So it has me thinking about what to do next. It is not quite to the limit where I'm like, I have to have a second one, but it's starting to get up there, that's for sure. And as you can see from the RAM usage, I'm not caching a whole lot, which kind of makes me curious because I would think I'd be caching a whole lot more, but just has me curious to think about, what's next. And I know you guys have various setups. I mean, I think most of you have Synology. Most of you would probably agree that Synology is not what you would buy today if you had to buy one again. I know Tony has a Ugreen, but I am curious, just kind of a quick poll, like what is everybody using? What would you, if you had to buy one today, what would you buy? I'm just kind of curious. So I would probably buy another Ugreen and install TrueNAS on it. I just like TrueNAS's interface, and I like the fact that it's more Linuxy, if you will. But I've also heard that Ugreen OS has come a long way. I actually left the drive. I left the original drive in there with the Ugreen NAS OS, so I can always go back if I need to. Part of me wants to, but I'm a little hesitant, I guess, scared because I always hear the benefits of ZFS and all that stuff. So like, I don't want to just give up my ZFS pool and whatnot, and I can't really go back to it right now because I have no other place to put it. That being said, I did get my offsite backup working, and we can go over that in a second. I think GCC might lack because they have a cloud and on-prem controller software. Yeah, there's a thought about that, or there's a thought that may be the case. Yeah. Micah says I'm 50% of my TrueNAS. Yeah, I didn't really break down. I should probably break down my data sets just to kind of see where I'm. So my Plex is actually only 500 gigs. So my Nextcloud data has more. My backup copies of my virtual machines uses more data. So between Nextcloud and my backup VMs, they're using more than my Plex is currently. But I do want to grow that Plex library. And I finally integrated my HD home run into Plex, so now I can actually watch live TV via Plex, and I can record things onto Plex from the HD home run. And oh boy, this is where I wish I had members only abilities right now, because I would share a story that I from last week. I went to a technology conference and met with somebody about the whole future of television, and I'm not going to share it here, but I would love to share that story right now, but I am not going to do it on a public stream. So anyway, just let's go back to this chat. Grish does Ugreen and Proxmox. Oh, we talked about that today. Yeah, Grish was talking about Proxmox and being PCI pass-through. I was having some issues getting a USB tuner to pass through. Oops, wrong way. So I was trying to get one of these RTL dongles to work with XCP&G. It will not pass through to a Linux VM. It'll pass through to a Windows VM just fine, but it will not get passed through to a Linux one, which I thought was very weird. I was actually trying to use one of these to scan my power meter, and it turns out my power meter is actually using some sort of frequency shifting encrypted network mesh thing, and I'm like, well, that sucks. Because I was hoping to read my power meter for free, but that's not going to happen. Micah has a homebrew Dell Optiplex. Yes, I was thinking the same thing because there's like three different options, right? Right, three, and it's like should basically not need three options to control your software. Like you should have a cloud version and a local version. Like that's it. You shouldn't have three or four different platforms, in my opinion. True NAS, because TVJ, woohoo! Joe says he would still buy Synology for his business. Yeah, we have Synology at work. They're really nice boxes. I just kind of question some of their decision making recently. And not because I'm anti like buy-in and all that stuff, but it's just like you keep changing the rules. And when you keep changing the rules, I feel like you're doing that not to benefit the customer. You are doing that to benefit yourself, because if the rules were good, you would have had them defined in the first place, but you didn't. You got built on people buying and doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, now that we're getting big, we're changing the rules. And it's like, no, you built your business based on the fact that you had good software and worked with anything, and then now you're changing the rules. Makes you question. But yeah. Yeah, if I had the money, I would do 45 drives too. That would be super cool. If they want to sponsor the channel, I would totally take it. But yes, so I've had two HD home runs. I had an ATSC 1 home run. Hold on. Sorry about that. I've had an ATSC 1 HD home run, and I have an ATSC 3 HD home run. And when Plex was upping their cost for the lifetime policy or lifetime pass, I bought it before the price increase, and then I added it to Plex, and which is awesome because as a broadcaster, I often want to watch what my station's doing. And now I have a way to watch what my station is doing from anywhere in the world. And I know that it is truly an off-the-air feed. So I know, what the viewers are seeing. Because if I remote in to work, I have to do VPN. That takes a while. I can't do it on every machine. So now I have a way to just simply log into a website and see what my station is doing instantly without any roadblocks. And that is really helpful for me. I can also watch the stations or the competitions are doing. So in case there's a question about, well, what happened here, I can tune to a different station and see that too. So having HD Home Run with Plex was really helpful and was one of the reasons why I bought the Plex Pass. So Terrell says he's had for 6 years. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's very clear, very clear indeed, that they do not care about the home lab people anymore. Yeah, your box has been rock solid. The Synology's work have been rock solid too. I'm not saying they're bad. I just don't know if I'd buy one today. And here's the thing about this is, I kind of feel like I am all of a sudden because I wasn't until this live stream. Here's the thing about this comment, and you're not the first one to comment about this Synology moving towards corporate. This may or may not be the topic that I was talking about last week. I'm just gonna leave it there. Corporate people don't use Synology because Synology can't run their antivirus software. So when you're at corporate levels, you're required to run certain software packages. And if that package cannot be run on a Synology box, technically speaking, that box shouldn't be in the environment. So my Synologies cannot run our antivirus software or anti-threat theft, yeah. They can't run our security software. So technically speaking, I'm not supposed to be using them. But they exist to store data. That's what they do. They do that. So there's a pressure increasingly that says, get those out of the box, get those out of the environment. So while I understand technology wants to go that way, a lot of corporate IT teams are going to say, hell no, because it can't run their security software. And so they're going to run into an issue here pretty soon that because they're Linux and they don't run the software, you know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be a problem here. Not all corporations are going to be that way, but I'm saying the bigger ones that are getting locked down more and more because of security. Synology is not going to have a place for them in their environment. I was told to get a Dell or an HP solution because it runs Windows and therefore can run our security software. That's a whole different set of issues, but nonetheless, yeah. So I don't think it's good for a company to go want to be a corporate customer when they can't run the corporate software that's needed, and there's no good integration with that kind of thing. So therefore, I don't really think that's going to be a case that, basically, if you cut off the home lab prosumer people and you cut off the Fortune 500 people, that's a small subset of people in there. Yes, it's a big pie, but you're cutting off people on both ends. So just my opinion. They're obviously smarter than I am, but just throwing it out there that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, because you're not going to get everybody. Is this the Plex app on the desktop, or you mean like on a Roku? Because I did notice that the Roku yesterday, or whatever day it was, updated, and it's definitely not the same interface that it was last week. And that interface did seem a little bit more, I want to say Amazon-ish. I'm not sure if that's really the way I could describe it, but that's kind of what comes to my mind when I saw it. I mean, not technically, but no, just kidding. Yeah, that's, I mean, and TrueNAS can't do the software either. I mean, but TrueNAS runs standard Linux in the background, and in theory, you could sideload an app. Still not going to get approved by corporate IT at a high level, but they're going to have the same issue, in my opinion. But at least TrueNAS works with everybody as opposed to limiting people. So, that is true. No, yes, there's a definite transition from I built this at home and I'm now the CTO, or I'm the IT manager, or whatever it is, and I want to do this at work. There's a definite progression. The mobile apps, yeah. You can't see the upcoming list of movies. Gotcha. Yeah, the Roku app definitely changed. That was that was a surprise. Yes, please give a thumbs up. How many of you are still here? "11 concurrent viewers, 9 likes. Thank you. All right, so I guess we'll go on to the last topic, which is basically sports. And so I did sign up for 3 football games, and so I'll be doing 3 in basically 6 weeks. So I'm going to be on the big truck this time. At least that's what I was told last week. And we'll be running audio on a Yamaha CL5. It's a Dante-based audio board. And so that'll be brand new. It'll be fun, interesting. I actually emailed them today asking about training because I am not one to just kind of walk in and assume that I can figure it out. Usually I can, but it's one of those things where I don't want to just do that. So if I can get training beforehand on something, I would love to do it. They offered it. So I'm going to be hopefully going down soon to figure out how to run this board. We use the CL3 at church, so I'm familiar with the basic board itself, but at church the CL3 is set up very differently. It's all pre-patched. Nothing changes week to week. It's just who's using what. Whereas live sports and you're patching different things each time. At least that's what I gather. They run into a lot more issues because things change and things get broke and so on and so forth. Whereas church, nothing typically changes a whole lot. So, yeah, and I'm hoping to, if I can, actually shoot some video on site. But we'll see. If I can get trained and everything goes well, that shouldn't be a problem. But when it's one of those things where you got to get trained and things have got to go well, because the last thing you can do is shoot video while things are going south and being chaos. So, going to be doing that again. Really miss doing live remotes. I didn't do any football games with the university this year, which I usually do, but I didn't do that this year. We're losing one of our remotes at work. I'm torn because that was always a pain in the butt, but it was always fun to go to. So, basically things are changing. So we'll see. There's a possibility of, changes at work that may or may not lead to more future endeavors like sports. Who knows? Two of the stations in our group do high school sports now. That was something that I learned their day. That was new to me. So, is there a possibility of us adding high school sports in the future? I don't know. The way the rules are written right now, probably not. But then again, I'm being told that those are being changed potentially next year. So the future has a lot of uncertainty in it for lots of different reasons. The TV landscape is changing. If you haven't heard, Google, and you'll see a lot of different headlines about ownership changes and policies changing at the FCC. Don't even get me started on Kimmel. So lots of things are up in flux right now. So I wanted to give you guys a little update, life update, if you will, kind of what's been going on, kind of tell you some of the things that are upcoming, hopefully some more content. Trying to work on getting a better backup solution, which I finally did work on. The mini NAS that was the Raspberry Pi over here is actually now off-site. It is about 7 miles away from here. It is doing a WireGuard tunnel into my network, and then it is doing Cloud Sync via TrueNAS and MinIO, and it is now backing up the most important folder, which is my Nextcloud data. So I now truly do have an offsite backup, but I do wish to expand on my local storage and expand on having 3, 2, 1 backups. Right now, things kind of are 3, 2, 1. Like, there's a copy on my laptop, there's a copy in there, and now there's one off site. But because this and there are sync, if I delete something from here, it deletes it off there instantly. So it's not really like I have a true copy of it, 2 copies locally. It's like it exists in 2 places, but one's just a sync of the other, and therefore there's no provisioning. So Still working on that, like I said, and I am using some old drives that only have about 1.2 terabytes left of free space. Will I fill that soon? Maybe not necessarily, but if I start doing my Plex, if I rip all the DVDs that I want to rip into Plex, so that my wife can watch whatever show she wants to watch whenever without having to put a CD in each time, or sorry, DVD. I would fill that space up pretty fast. So I kind of want to figure out what I'm doing with that first, because I might have to buy a second Ugreen or put the data somewhere temporarily while I expand the Ugreen out. But then that still leaves me with only one copy locally, which I don't like. Not that I'd back up my movies, but it's just, one of those things. I'm sorry. I'm definitely feeling it. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. Like I said, I have plans in the morning. I need to get going. My recent lecturing class sponsored by Cisco. Bye, Tony. You probably already left. Keith is here. Welcome in. Hopefully your Zoom meeting went well. Broadcast is very different now. Yes. Yes, this is happening more and more, and I love to see this. I wish it happened a lot more, but we will see. You never know what might happen. Bye, Toro. Yes, offsite pie NAS. Yes, we now have 2,000 subscribers, so that is awesome. Start getting the Seagate 24 terabyte drives. No, it's not, unfortunately. I also might think that might be the basement, because, like, dust and stuff. I remember thinking to myself that TrueNAS, if you replace all the drives and they're all the same size, that eventually the array will auto grow. Do you know that to be fact? I think that's correct. Because that was a thought that I had, was basically if I could replace the 2 terabyte drives, with 6 or 8, that would quadruple capacity fairly quickly, and I could do it in place. But there's also that risk of, like, if you pull one out, do you create stress in the other 2 or the 3, and then does one die? So yes, okay, Grish, that's true. Yes. So I did think about that. I was thinking about doing an in-place upgrade and just auto growing it, but it scares me a little bit with considering how old the drives are. So, but if I could make a backup copy somewhere and not lose any data, I mean, like not even a Plex rip, or a DVD rip, then that'd be less worrisome. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get going because I'm losing my voice. I want to thank you all for being here. I truly do appreciate you guys coming and sticking around and growing, especially for the last hour or so. So thank you guys. I will catch you guys later. I think I'm back next week. Should be. But anyway, catch you guys later. Thank you guys.